Let's dig into wall end cap styles in greater detail than I have in any other videos. And this will probably be a multi-part video series because wall end cap styles can get fairly complicated when you have a lot of components on your walls. But to begin with, I'm going to go for the very basic stuff. So hopefully you can use that to build up for more complicated walls. Once you have the basic understanding, it's just adding more layers to the same idea. I have some commands on my screen written. I'll zoom in here. You should know these commands. If you don't like to type, two of those commands can be acquired through the style manager. And wall end cap will also get you to wall end cap styles. So you really just need to know these two commands right here. Just know those two. Okay, and if you want to get them without typing, you go to Style Manager, Architectural Objects, and you will see here wall end cap styles and wall opening end cap styles. So we're going to discuss those, the differences, and how to make them. To do the most fundamental type of end cap, I'm going to draw just a regular wall, a default AutoCAD Architecture wall, and I'm just going to type in wall, add. I'll take a look over here. Its width is 8. I don't care what its width is. It could be 30 for all I care. I'm just going to draw that across the screen. So I have that single component wall. It has two lines on each side and an automatic end cap. If you click on the wall and you go to your properties, you'll see it says right here under, where is it, style overrides. It has a starting end cap by style and an ending end cap by style. If you right click and go to edit wall style and you go to end caps, you will see that it is using standard for everything, right? So that's how you know it's getting that default end cap, and there's nothing special or fancy happening. It's just what they've made as a default. So let's learn how to make something better. Let's suppose you want to create a 45-degree cut at the end of the wall. Say something like this. I'm going to take this and I'm going to go like this. And there's O-track over here. Suppose you want the wall to do that. Or you want the wall to do this. Or maybe it's pulled out more or it goes in like that. What if you want to do something like that? Maybe you won't need it, but just follow along and I think seeing how you can do something like that will enlighten you to how you can do almost anything you want at the end. Now this won't work right here. If you just draw a line like that and call it an end cap, it won't work. That's just a straight segment. It doesn't understand what you're doing to the two sides of the wall. So it has this corner and that corner. This doesn't define what those two corners are supposed to do. So I'll move that over here. I could throw it away, but I'll just move it over here as reference. So what it really wants to know is this. I'm going to use P line. So to keep out of trouble, even though there are cases where you can use the line for just straight segments, use polyline. It's the best way to just keep yourself from getting into things that won't work, because polyline reads as one continuous thing. So in this case, I would have to use a polyline. I'm going to start here. I'm going to put my angle on, and I'm going to O-track over like this, like I did before, 315. And now I have to draw this last piece back. And notice that I'm doing it lined up exactly with the width of the wall. So that's something to keep in mind. Wall end cap styles don't do some auto adjusting to variable widths. And that means you need end cap styles for every imaginable width of your walls. And oh boy, is that tedious stuff. But when we get to Archidyne's custom walls, we've done a lot of them for you. So here it is. If I select it, that's a single, object, a single polyline that defines that edge. So I'll type in wall end cap, S for style. I'm going to go in here and just call this one. Oh, maybe I should call it 45. This 45 or 45B, right? So I'll go ahead and do a set from. I'll select this, hit enter, enter, enter. Apply and get out. So now I have an end cap in there. This is how I can assign it as an override. not a default. I'll pick the wall. I'll hover over this this grip to find out which side of the wall I'm on. I'm on the end here. So if I go down to the style overrides end, I can now say 45 degrees, and it does that. Okay, were you expecting it to do that? Probably not. Now the reason it drew it that direction has to do with how I created the start and end of that polyline. And so essentially, if I wanted to go this direction, I should have drawn from here out in that direction, so counterclockwise. But don't worry, that's no big deal. What you can do is type in P-edit, P-E, select your polyline, do an R for reverse. It reverses the direction of that polyline. Enter, enter. Now go back to wall endcap style and just reselect it. Enter, 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 and it's fixed. Right? So be aware of that. You can reverse the direction of those polylines for endcap work. When I select that wall, you'll notice that it's going to use that outer corner for the outer edge of the wall, which might be nice. But let's suppose you would rather that it projects automatically out from this corner. So you just need to know what that value is. If I take a distance from here and I come down and I measure out, it's going to tell me that's 8 inches. Okay? So suppose I wanted it to project that 8 inches more. What I can do, I'll go back to wall endcap style. I'll double click here, and under dimensions I can control it positively or negatively. In this case, if I want to shoot it out, it's a negative value, so -8. And hit apply and OK. And so now look, it lines up exactly where I sketched it. If I pick on it, that point here, the grip of the end of the wall is right there. Okay, hopefully all that stuff makes sense. The next thing I want to do is I want to show you how to make a wall that has no end cap at all. So I'll do it on the other side here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another polyline, and I'm going to draw it of any length, doesn't matter, because it's going to be a straight cut. So the walls can handle that. You don't need to match it up if it's just a straight line. So I'll draw it that long. I'm going to select that polyline, run over to my properties palette, and I'm going to assign it a width. So I don't care what the width is. It could be 1. It could be anything you want. So now I'm going to return to the wall endcap style, and I'm going to define a new one. I'm going to call it blank. I'm going to pick on that, right click, set from, go down here and select this polyline. It gets it, enter, 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 and now I can use it. So if I pick that wall, go, and this of course is the start, I go over here, put an override on it, and I can say blank, and that will disappear. All right. Now the next thing is I want to show you how you can set something like this as the default. So what I can do here is I can select the wall, right click, edit the wall style, go to the end caps and say I always want 45 degrees on the end of my walls, and you'll get 45 degrees when you draw another wall. So wall add, and it'll have 45 degrees. Now you'll notice if you want 45 going the other direction on the other end, you'll need end caps for both ends. Now also notice this one didn't change because I put overrides on it. So if I took the overrides off and said by style and by style, it'll look the same. All right. So there are ways to set it within the wall style so you always get that end cap. The next thing we're going to take a look at here is I'll go ahead and pull this wall over. And now you know this is well, okay, we can start here. So I'm going to put in an opening, and I'm going to drop an opening in right here. Okay. Now believe it or not, that opening comes with its own end caps. If you select the opening and you run down over here, you can see end caps. You can put an override in here if you want to. Now there aren't any available, so that's why I wanted to go look at that right now. So openings include doors, windows, opening objects like this right here, and I believe DWAs. So I can't remember the whole list. Let's find the list. So go edit wall style, and right here. So doors, DWAs, openings, and windows. Yeah, those are openings, and they have their own endcaps option separate from the wall ends themselves. Okay, so what needs to happen is you need this other command down here, which is opening end cap style. And notice there are none in here. So I can say, let's put in a blank. And you've done nothing. And if you right click on it, there's no set from. This is not where you create a wall end cap style. This is where you create an opening end cap style that uses wall end cap styles. And this will make sense to you as soon as you click on it. Double click, go to design rules, and you'll see that for openings, you can actually have 4 different wall end cap styles, one for each direction in which an opening cuts into the wall. So you could have something for the top, for the sill, so for the head, for the sill, and the jambs, for example. And we do take advantage of some of that in our more custom objects, particularly the jambs. Not so much, well, the sills, yeah, actually we get into all of these. But for this, I'm just going to go ahead and select all of these and then assign them to the wall end cap style called blank. Oh, blank. Blank, there we go. All right, and now I'm going to hit apply and OK. And now I can take advantage of it in 2 different ways. One, I can do it as I did before and override. So just select the opening and then run down here and say use blank. Okay, and look at that. It does that. The other way I can do it is I can select the wall style, edit the wall style, and for openings, I can assign blank as the default. Oops, well, I'm having trouble getting it to select here. Okay, like that. All right, so we've got that little thing happening there. Plan world. All right, let's get into a little more sophisticated wall end cap styles, and then I'm going to conclude the video. I don't want to dig in too much deeper. It's a lot of subject matter, and I'm doing it very quickly. The next thing I'll do here is if I go to the content catalog, I go to general tools, you'll see under walls we got a bunch of walls, and over here this is the new walls palette. On this thing we get all the way down into exterior walls, and we also have things like footings and stuff like that. All of these things need end caps if you want optimum use out of them. So I'm going to pick the very first. This is an interior stud wall with a 1/2-inch sheetrock on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw that across on the screen. And you'll notice it comes in looking like a wall with probably just some sheetrock on both sides. The end caps were not set to occur automatically because we found that can be kind of problematic when you're laying out walls and you end up having to get rid of it where in cases where you don't want it for some reason. So we just put it in as something that you can assign as an override. So if, for example, if I just click this wall here and I go right here, I'll say that's the end. So I want the end over here. You'll find there's the end cap that matches it. So it says 1/2-inch sheetrock, and it's designed for a 3.5-inch stud wall with 1/2-inch on the other side. So you select that, and you'll automatically see it cleans up. Okay. Now, if you wanted that to be a permanent, which I don't recommend, you could go in here and then assign it to the wall style itself, and then it'll draw every time you draw a wall. It's add similar, add selected. It'll have that on there. Okay. I'm going to undo that though. I don't want that in there. So I'll just put it back to standard. Okay. So how was that possible? How did we create that? So you may find that you're working with any of our wall styles and you need to do a little reverse engineering to figure out how to adjust it for a different scenario. So what you can do is you can type in a wall end cap style. Oops, nope, it's wall end cap. And then go to P for P line, and then you'll see the list wall end cap styles you can insert. So there's the one. Here's the other ones I created earlier, but here's the one I brought in with this wall. And go ahead and say OK, and now I can insert it anywhere on the screen. Now I'd lump them all together, so what I recommend that you do is you pull them apart. So just pick on one part of it here and bring that out. Pick on another part here and bring that out. And pick on this one here and just make sure that's all there is. And that makes sense because there's only 3 components. If I select the wall, right-click, Edit Wall Style, go to Components, you'll see Sheetrock, Wall, Sheetrock. That's all there is into it. So you need to account for those 3 components in order to get this kind of result. So here's how I go about making something like that. I go to P-line, and I imagine where the sheetrock might want to travel. So I'm thinking, okay, the sheetrock comes along, and naturally, I'll just draw this line here. It naturally will just stop there, right? All of the components are just going to terminate. So what I really want is for this sheetrock to understand that I wanted to pull it out here. I want to take it all the way down like this. I want to bring it back, and I want to bring it up to here, right? And I'm going to move that over so I can see that. The next thing I want to do is I want to draw a polyline that tells the stud wall what to do. And I can draw it just like that. Now I'm making the length match. Again, when it's a straight edge like this, you can make it any length, it doesn't care. I could have drawn it 1 inch and it would still work. And then for the final part, I'm going to draw this little piece here, like that. And I'm going to move that over. And once again, any length. In fact, you only need 1 of these. You just click on it twice, you know, for the straight segment. But I like to draw them all out because there's some, you know, especially when you get more complicated walls, you really need to kind of visualize the whole thing and keep them all in order. So let's put this back to standard, or by style, I should say. All right, let's test my new outline here. So I will go ahead and do a wall Endcap style. I'm going to go ahead and type in new, and I would typically write all of the stuff that I wrote up here, but I'm just going to write a test 1 for speed here. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a right-click, set from, and what I'll do is I have to decide where do I start. It did say on the wall style sheetrock, stud, sheetrock, right? So I could either do sheetrock, stud, sheetrock, or I can do sheetrock, stud, sheetrock. I'm just going to go from here. Boom. See how it says at the bottom, segment number 1, yes. So I hit enter. Another one, yes. Pick this one, that's the stud. Number 2, yes. I want another one. And then this one, and enter, and enter, and enter, and apply. All right, now we test it. So I'll go ahead and just set this. What is this? This is the end. I'll go down here to the end, and I'll do, what did I call it, test 1. And it ends up looking like that. Let me remove the construction line. Okay, now I want to show you something that can occur. Suppose I had drawn it this way. Okay, it looks exactly the same, but I drew it in the opposite direction. I'm going to move this over there. Let me do it again. So I'm going to go back, wall end cap style, test 1, set from, pick this one, and then component 1, yes. Do this one, yes, and this one. Okay, look what happens. And isn't it interesting that we were all probably thinking that this one goes to this component. It actually goes to this component up here. That's component 1, this is component 2, and this is component 3, and that's partly why that happened. So I show you this because this happens to me all the time. I'm usually in a hurry. As you can tell, I like to run pretty quick with this stuff, and I'm not paying attention to most of the stuff. I don't even look at my keyboard. I'm typing things, just looking at my screen a lot and just thinking it through. And I drew this in a direction that didn't work. And if you get this kind of result, that's why. If you want to fix that, there's a pretty quick and simple fix. Just type in PE, pick on that polyline, do a R for reverse, enter, enter, and now go ahead and just do the, go back to the wall end cap style, and just do a set from, and pick this one, and pick this one, and apply, and okay, and boom, it fixes that. Now, you might wonder why you're seeing the fat lines here. I discussed what the fat line does up here. This is the polyline with width. It created that. Let's just do that again. Let's see, this is start. Okay, so start. And I set this thing to blank. Yeah. So that's what a fat, wide polyline with width does. And these end caps were created, I don't know how many years ago, quite a while back. And this is a carryover, but we're going to continue to keep it because there are places where it's still valid to have it. But essentially, you can see on these three that I just created live, it cleaned up fine. But in the old days, you would actually see the seam. So in this particular case, you would see something like this, and that wouldn't look particularly good. Now, if you run into places where you're creating highly customized end cap styles and you do see a seam in plan, you can use this little trick where you just make one part of the polyline have some width, and then it'll clean that up. But it's gotten pretty good. Let's see. Okay, now if we go to, let's see here, if we go to the content catalog and we go to the, let's say, doors, and we go to interior doors and systems. Okay, so these systems are an example of our customized door window assemblies. And these are I'm picking these because they are designed for interior walls. So these are kind of like a Victorian door with a little transom above it. I'll just pick this first one. And I'm going to go ahead and pop that in here and pop it in like that. And when I select this, you'll notice that even though this is a DWA, it's actually reading to the inside. If you build DWAs, you'll notice it always defaults to the outside. So we did a little offsetting to make this happen. It's 3/4 of an inch on all of our styles. And if I did not have a custom end cap style to create this solution, this is what would happen. If I go ahead and let's see, go here and I go to standard, this is what would happen. So if you insert our custom DWAs into your own wall styles and you see something like this occur, it's because you need a unique opening end cap to make that 3/4 of an inch back spacing off of the wall. Because those DWAs, they just read to essentially the outside edge. They don't have outside and inside. So we tricked it into doing that graphically, and then we made a custom end cap for it. And that custom end cap is just set in the wall style. So if I go to, and this would be true of any of our wall styles, if I go to the edit wall style, you go here to end caps, you'll see we have one called, for door window assembly, you'll see one called DWA standard. Okay. And notice we have the one for the for regular openings. For doors, we don't care. That would cut off straight anyway. But for openings, you'll see. So let me pull this out, and I'll just put in an opening right here. All right, and it's going to wrap the sheetrock automatically. Now you could go in and say you don't want that. You can do an override. And you can just assign it to standard. I wonder what it would look like if you did blank. Just do the blank. Now the blank, because, isn't this funny? I'm glad I just did that. Because I only did the one component on that, it's taking the first component and blanking that out. So you'd have to select this 3 times for each of the 3 components to blank them all out here, because there's 3 components. But it did do that one. Let's go ahead and set this back to by style. And let's go take a look now at the wall end cap style for this DWA. So if I go to wall end cap and go to style, see we have our DWA standard. You're going to notice it has the 3/4. So it's a positive 3/4, but it creates a negative effect on the wall itself. So this distance here is 3/4, and it's pushing that back the 3/4 needed. So that cleans that up all nice and neat. The other opening end cap is just this one here being used for the openings. So that's just a simple collection. It's the same one being used for the end cap here, but it's assigned. If you go to opening end cap style, you'll see here it is. This is for openings, and then here's how it's assigned to all of the sides of the opening. So if I just isolate this and I cruise into 3D, right, what you're going to see here is that the sheetrock, there it is on all, well, it's on 3 sides, not all 4. But if I brought that opening up like this, you'll see that it's also on the bottom. So if I go ahead and do a view, and I do a, let's do a realistic, you'll see the sheetrock wraps nicely around all of the corners. Okay, so we'll go back to plan. Right, and then we go to wireframe. Now, when you select a wall, right-click, edit the wall style, go to display properties for model, model high detail, model low detail, anything model. You might run into a setting in your files where under the other tab, it is not going to show the display opening end caps. This is a thing that'll throw you off. You're rendering or you're just looking at it in 3D. You know you put your end caps on it, but you don't see them. Well, it's not always on by default, especially in older files. So make sure if you're not seeing your end caps in a 3D view like this, if I go in here and I go to model and I turn this off, this is what's going to happen, right? And that can throw you for, and you see that, and you're certain that you put those end caps in there, and you'll find you'll just go crazy until you go and you find this little setting, right? Now I have them on by default in all my files on everything. Let's see, I think there was, oh, all right, the final thing here. Let's do a Control U. We'll turn everything on. We'll go to wireframe. This is invariably going to happen, especially if you do remodels on older buildings and you're measuring in the field and you're finding the walls have all different kinds of widths. You're not sure, maybe there's some furring or there's double studs, but you need to show it accurately. And you're finding on a wall like this that says existing, it's not coming out 3.5 inches for the stud. Whatever is in there is coming out to be something like 5 inches. And you end up doing this, then you're going to see this happen. And that's unfortunate, is that the end caps just cannot grow automatically to match the situation. So you're going to have to do the work. We can't make end caps for every imaginable width. This is how you can fix that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, there's two, let me slow down a little bit. There are 2 ways to fix that. One is that you recreate a new end cap, knowing that you have these 3 pieces, and just all you need to do is make this one longer, and then redefine it. But another way, if you've got a fairly complicated set of end caps, or you're just in a hurry, you don't have time to mess around with that. What you can do is get yourself into a 3D view, okay, and then you can select the wall. You can go up here to end caps. You can say edit in place and come down and snap to the bottom. So now you can edit that end cap that's problematic. Now, this doesn't always work. There are times I run into problems. It won't let me edit the end cap that I want, or I can't snap it in the right place, or the save as is not functioning right. But on the simpler ones, like this example here, it's pretty easy to do. So all I got to do now is just stretch this over. That's the end cap that needs to come out like this. And then I can do a save as, okay? And this one was called, oh, it's the test 1. Let's just call it test 1B. I would have the value, I would put the value of 5 or something in there, but I'll just call it test 1B. So it should make a new one. and then save as new wall end cap style, yes. All right, and so it automatically, let's see, what did it do here? So we go down here, 1B, that's good. And if I need it for the other end, I can go ahead and put 1B on there. All right, and it took care of that. Let's see, so now I just got to fix the, yeah, now I just got to fix, hitting a bunch of keys. Now I just got to fix this. All right, so unfortunately I got to go into opening, end cap style, and I got to make a new one. So here what I would do is I would copy that and would change the value. I think it was a 5.0 stud that I put in there, so 5.0 is what I would call it. Leave everything else the same, run in here, grab all of these guys and set them to 1B, apply, okay, and go ahead and highlight that. Now I could do it in the wall or I could do it as an override here, so I just do the, let's see, 5.0 stud, boom, taken care of, all right. All right, I think that's pretty good for the basics, the fundamentals of wall end caps, opening end caps, and all that sort of stuff. And I'll probably do a future video where I'm getting into more of the detail stuff where you have a lot more components. That's it, I'm out.